Okay, everyone, let's get started. Before we get into what I call advanced question design, are there any questions about what we've done previously, either last week or the weeks before that? Okay, then. Let's get started. Today, we're doing what I call advanced question design. This is where we can get into some pretty neat and useful things. Um, Today, we'll be talking about carry forward, where you can have your respondents answer several possibilities or responses and carry forward the ones that they choose. Loop and merge, which is very good for asking the same sets of questions repeatedly. And we'll get into a little bit more advanced kinds of uh, piping or piped in answers. We've done a little bit of that as we've gone along, just using the basic options. But there's some neat stuff you can do with it beyond just displaying things. So let's get started. Um, First, we'll begin with doing carry forward. And as you see, I've already put in a couple of questions. What are your 3 favorite ice cream flavors? And of course, there's more than 3 here. Then in the next question, I want to ask which of those 2 that of the 3 that you've indicated are your favorite, do you like the most? So we'll click in here and we get the number, we get all of these options over here. And we'll go down to carry forward choices. And I'll ask carry choices from, and of course we only have one question before it, so that's really the only one that's available. And selected choices, you have various other choices, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to want the selected choices. In a further question, you might want the unselected. Why don't you like these other ones? But we'll just do selected choices because it all works basically the same. And we'll click confirm. And you can see here, it gives you the note saying that you're doing a carry forward and what question it's being carried forward from. And you can see it automatically put in all of the options that we had in the question from which we are carrying. So let's give this a quick preview. And I'll say vanilla, strawberry, and banana. And as you can see, now it asks, now it's just vanilla, strawberry, and banana. You click out of this and do one more just because it's fun. And so, you can even do just one depending on what kind of validation you have on it. Of course, if you're only asking for 3, you want to put validation on here so that they only answer 3. So carry forward, as you can see, can be pretty useful. You can carry forward again. So you could say we ask here of those 3, which 2 do you like most? You can go down to a next question and carry from this, of those 2, which do you like the most? So you can keep going with this. You're not limited to just the one as it is here. And as I mentioned, you can have another carry forward that says, why don't you like the ones that they did not select? So pretty useful. Any questions about that? It's actually a pretty simple one, but it can be quite useful. Okay, next we have loop and merge. This is useful when you need to ask the same kinds of questions about various things, repeated questions about different topics, let's say. So here I have, again, a couple of questions. And to do loop and merge, you click in the block, because it works on the block, the whole block, and click on loop and merge. Then you have to turn it on. This time we're going to do loop based off of a question. And we're going to do it off of what are your 3 favorite ice cream flavors? And again, you have, we've seen this before. All choices displayed. We're going to do selected choices. And you can see over here, it says vanilla chocolate. It automatically fills it in. We're going to see what this field 2 is useful for in a minute. You can randomize the loop order so that as it goes through, each respondent gets a different order. And we'll click on save. Go to preview. I'm going to do chocolate, strawberry, and banana again. Go through these. I don't care. Oh, I forgot to put one little thing in, but here's the first loop. There's the second loop. And there's actually the third. I'll click and it goes to the next thing. Now, of course, as you saw there, it says, how often do you eat? Well, eat what? What's nice is you can come in here and using the piped text, come down to loop and merge fields, and you see field 1 is filled in. It has values there. So you click there, and it says, has that funky little code. And you do that again with the next question. Let's do something different. So how often do you eat vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry? So as you can see, that can be really useful because you can ask people, as I've done here, what their favorite flavors are, and then ask the same questions. And you don't need to have this block repeated 3 times, 5 times, however many times. It'll do it automatically. Are there any questions about that kind of loop and merge? Okay. The next kind of loop and merge is sometimes you don't have a set number of choices as we did in the first one. You want to let people say how many choices or how many times. So let's say you're doing a survey on families and you want to ask the parent, how many children do you have? And then you want to ask the same questions about each child. Here's another case for loop and merge, but of course, this time around, you don't know up front how many times there might you might want to do the loop and merge. So we'll come over here. I was playing around with this earlier. Of course, you turn on the loop and merge and you click based off of a question. And since this one is asking how many children do you have, and it's an open-ended question, you can do select choice, but there are no choices, and you want numeric response. And you can say the maximum number of loops you want it to do. So this can be 3, 5, 10, however many you want. I had just put in 3 here. And so when you do that, it automatically fills in field 1 with 1, 2, 3, however many choices you have. This field 2, you can fill in really with anything you like. So we'll click save, and you'll see what this field 2 is going to help with in a moment. And the question we want to repeat is, what is your child's name? What we'll do is we'll come in with the piped text, do loop and merge. Now you see field 2 is filled in. You click on that, put a space in there. Now we can come up to preview again. Just click through these. I'm going to say 3 for the moment. What is your first child's name? Second? Third? And it goes on to the next. And so, of course, you would usually or always have perhaps more than each, certainly more than one question about each child. You can get kind of fancy and put another loop within, and you can say, then loop again in another block. And this time you're placing first, second, and third with the child's name that the person puts in here. You can get kind of fancy with this stuff if you really want to. Are there any questions? I'm just looking at my notes here. Okay, we're moving right along here. Usually people have a lot more questions, so either I'm getting better at explaining this or I've totally messed things up. As we've seen, we've done a little bit of piping already, and you can see it's really quite useful. Can make your survey look a lot nicer and work a lot better because it makes it easier for your respondents. And you always want to do it so that it's easier for your respondent. But you can do things that are more than just, plopping in a field into the question, or even some of the responses that you might be giving people. And the usual example that I use is in calculating BMI, body mass index. And so you need to know how much the person weighs and how tall they are. So simple questions. And then you can come down. When you do this kind of piping, as you're going to see in a second, it needs to be in the next block. What I'm about to show you would not work if question 11 were up in the same block with these other ones. And that's because we're going to actually add these two values. And so Qualtrics needs to have those values submitted so that it knows what they are and can do the math on it. Now this gets a little bit trickier because, of course, now we need two values. So we'll do survey question. And the first one is, how much do you weigh? Select this one. And put a little space in there. And how tall are you? And you see I'm selecting this second thing, how tall are you? If we did question text, then it would actually put in the text of the question. So it'd be nice if they just said, response to that particular question. So let's just do this for a second and just see what it looks like as it is now. Okay, you see it took in the two answers. But of course, that's not really what we want. We want a calculation in here. Now, what I'm about to do is technically not the actual formula for body mass index. That's a little bit more involved, but I just want to show you how you can do mathematics with piped text like this. And it's more than just putting a plus in between here. You have to do a little bit of editing to each of these fields. So the first thing you need to do is put an E in there. Take out that squirrely bracket. Take out that $sign and that bracket. And the spacing is important. Qualtrics is really pretty fussy about the spacing. So it's a space, put in a plus sign and another space, and then a curly brace at the end. And you can see it added the two values and displayed that. Pretty neat. One thing though is doing it this way, it will display the value to your respondent but it does not get saved in the data that you would download, nor would you be able to use this calculated value further on in your survey. To use it further on or save it with your data, you need to save it as embedded data, which is something we're doing next week, because you can get really pretty involved. So we're going to spend a bit more time, quite a bit more time on doing that. So once you display this to your respondent and they go on, that's the end of it. If you need their BMI again in later questions, you're going to have to do this again. So, let's say you ask their information, how tall and how much they weigh, you calculate their BMI, and you want to give a set of questions for people who are under a certain BMI and a different set to people who are over a particular BMI. Again, something we'll look into next week quite a bit more. You would need to save it as an embedded data field. Thing is, you do it just like this, even when it's an embedded data field in the survey flow. The other thing is you can do something like this, even in any of the kind of logic or validation that you might want to do. Let's see if I can get copy that. Nope, I got to go up one. Go to custom. Validation will pass if how tall are you? You can see I already did this before, but it's that same thing. That we have in there. And then you have to have an error message, and this error message has nothing to do with what we're doing. So we'll click save. Preview. You see it didn't pass the validation, so it says not less than 2,000, which of course it is, but that's just an old error message that I had in. So the point being is that you can, in the validation, use this pipe text thing. As you can see, when you click in there, you don't get that usual menu like you do here. So you would have to get those, get these codes by doing a pipe text somewhere. And I often recommend building these kinds of equations if you're going to get any more fancy than just adding or subtracting two like this. Build it in something like Notepad and then copy and paste it in, because as I say, the actual equation for BMI is much more involved than this. And so it would be this little bit here is kind of hard to edit in. And really, when we get into embedded data next week, it's an even smaller space to do it. So again, it's much easier if you do it in Notepad or just some plain text editor, and then copy and paste it. And of course, test it and make sure it's giving you the numbers that you're expecting. As I say, it's just a lot easier that way. And you can also, if you want, put in regular numbers as well. Are there any questions?
No, on my side.
Okay, did I go too fast and you're completely lost?
Well, I'm wondering, Paul, why the viewer has to see this information, like these values on here. Why would they need to see it?
You mean your respondent?
Right. The sequence of values, the text that you have in here to remove it. Why would they need to see it?
Well, your respondents wouldn't see this.
Oh, they don't see it. Okay, I thought
No.
I was saying, okay.
Nope. See, if we go to the preview, what they'll see is the final calculated value. So let's
Okay.
go through. And so how much do you weigh? And how tall are you? And this might ignore validation. So you see your respondents don't see those codes. They just see the result of it.
Okay. I just misunderstood. I thought you said that they would see that when they're answering the question, but okay.
Nope.
Okay, great.
There are ways that you could display it to them, but why you would, I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I said. Why would they see this? Okay.
Well, I've done this, and sometimes, there's some little glitch, and you go through the preview and you see the codes there instead of the values. If, let's see, let me.
And also, how would we remember, like, the codes that you took out? Like, how would we remember what to put in and what to take out?
The best thing to do is to go, and I'll find it. Hopefully I can find it for you.
Okay.
Is the help in Qualtrics if you need to do this.
Okay.
But to get these values, you go to the pipe text and pull it in, and then it's just a matter of
I mean, you knew what to remove, but
yeah, I knew what to remove because I'm looking at my notes and I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll just forward my notes to everybody.
Oh, okay. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's, as many times as I've done this, I still have to look at my notes to do it right. Because if you leave one little thing out like that,
yeah, and I can see that happening. So yeah, your notes would be great.
So, well, like I say, having my notes doesn't guarantee that I do it right all the time. See, now this time I did it wrong and it's just blank, and sometimes you do it and it shows the code. But
Okay.
when it's not showing an actual value, that you did something wrong. You know, and in this instance, I just did that. And yes, this is being recorded, and the recording will be available on my Qualtrics page, maybe tomorrow, certainly by Wednesday. Just depends on how long it takes for everything to render and do all that. And I have to go through, and we're not allowed to post videos without captions. So I have to go through and make sure it did all the captions correctly, because there have been some really hilarious things it does with the speech recognition. So are there any questions, any other questions about what we've done today, previously, etc.? Okay, then we're done. I have this sneaking suspicion I forgot something because we're done so early. But okay, if I did forget something, I will pick it up next week. And so we will be back here next Monday at 3 o'clock when we do survey flow, which you can do a lot of cool things in survey flow, which is this here. And some of the things I've been mentioning, embedded data. And there's also branching. Those are probably the two things you will use the most. Different end of survey options, etc. Okay, then. Thank you very much, everyone. And I will see you next Monday.